Phil Ivey is looking down on 8-6 offsuit. Vanessa makes it 25K with pocket sevens bread and butter early value that plays beautifully on low textures and keeps worse pairs and broadways defending. Artem overcalls, sweetening the price. Phil Ivey flats purposefully. 8-6 thrives deep and multi-way, makes nutted straights on boards early raisers hate, and carries just enough backdoor potential to pressure later streets. The flop falls low and connected. Artem checks and Phil fires 50K when checked to. Into two players and on a dynamic board, that stab credibly represents sets, two pair, and strong draws, while letting him realize his equity with the open-ender plus the 6 of clubs as a valuable blocker. Vanessa just calls with top set. Raising with narrow ranges to strong draws and made flushes later, calling keeps Phil's bluffs and semi-bluffs alive, invites Artem to continue, and disguises the real strength of her hand on a texture that can shift quickly. The turn is the 10 of clubs, completing the front door. Artem checks again and Phil barrels 150K. That card is a green light for continued pressure. If he's bluffing, the club gives him story and leverage. If he's value, he wants to tack sets and one pair hands immediately. The 6 of clubs in his hand trims the strongest flush combos Vanessa can have. Vanessa's call is disciplined. She retains all her full house redraws, avoids isolating herself versus made flushes, and keeps Phil's entire range pointed at a river decision. The river is the 4 of hearts. No new club appears, but one of Phil's key rivers does. The straight gets there.
Phil Ivey, everybody. Best in the world. Cracks sevens with 8-6, the classic.
While we wait for Phil Ivey to make his decision, please click the like button. It helps out a lot, thank you. He chooses 400K, a polarizing bomb that plays perfectly against the range Vanessa has represented by calling twice. Overpairs without a club, sevens that didn't raise, and some cautious club hands. With the 6 of clubs blocker reducing nut flush combos and a coherent story from flop to river, this sizing forces exactly the kind of uncomfortable, high-stakes decision he's been building toward all hand.
She folds! She made that look so easy.
Not the turn I wanted to see.
3-7?
Negreanu is looking down on 10-9 suited. Shlomi opens to $475 with pocket kings, the classic early position value raise that invites dominated high cards to make mistakes. Boniati flats behind, a routine set mine that keeps the opener wide and creates a pot where overpairs are forced to play multi-way. On the button, Negreanu overcalls with 10-9 suited. He buys position against a likely overpair, keeps the pot single raised so his connected hand can realize, and preserves a post-flop story that can credibly arrive at straights and 2-pair on many middling runouts. With 3 players and deep stacks, Negreanu's plan is to control price now and fight for leverage later. The board rolls out wet and middle, exactly the texture that pressures an opener's range. Shlomi continuation bets $1,525 into 2 opponents to tax the spades and charge the gutters while protecting his likely overpair. Boniati steps aside, Negreanu continues. With top pair, strong kicker for this configuration, and position, calling is superior to raising. It keeps Shlomi's bluffs alive, avoids isolating versus the strongest value, and retains every turn card that can add equity or scare an overpair. He's now set up to maneuver without inflating the pot unnecessarily. The Queen of Hearts lands. That card is fine for kings, but improves Negreanu's believable value region to include Queen 9 and some 2-pair that could have peeled. Shlomi opts for a measured $2,125, continuing his value protection line, without bloating the pot on a card that helps the caller more than the pre-flop raiser. Negreanu calls again, disciplined and deliberate. He keeps his range uncapped, realizes equity with 10-9, and holds the option to seize the narrative on favorable rivers, or punish thin value bets with a polarizing raise. The river is the 8 of clubs, a quiet but meaningful shift that completes 6-7 and strengthens combos like 9-8 that Negreanu can absolutely show up with. Shlomi puts out a small $3,000 bet, more price setting than power, trying to get looked up by worse pairs while avoiding a big decision. Negreanu springs the trap to $12,800, polarizing himself to straights, 2-pair, or sets, and telling a story perfectly consistent with his passive turn. 10-9 is a sharp candidate. It blocks calls from Queen 9, doesn't block missed spades, and represents exactly the value holdings that beat an overpair.
Aces or kings? Can I say that, or is that illegal? Heads up. I can say what he has, but not what I have. Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking aces or kings.
I appreciate you watching this far. Could you please give this video a like? Thank you.
And Shlomi's now thinking, if you've read me for aces or kings, surely you can beat aces or kings. I have to fold.
Daniel Negreanu has pocket kings.
Raises?
Queen high. Queen high?
He opens the pot to $1,200, a classic early position flex that targets the blinds and sets up a pot he can steer in position. Phil Hellmuth, smooth, calls, choosing pot control and range protection over a thin 3-bet. Eugene Kachelov comes along as well with ace-9, content to realize in position and take a multi-way flop against 2 ranges that can play face-up on ace-high textures. Kachelov checks the ace-high flop, protecting a top-pair hand with a middling kicker and letting the action declare itself. Negreanu checks behind. Pocket kings hate attacking into 2 players on an ace board, and the slow down keeps weaker hands and bluffs alive while controlling the pot. Hellmuth takes the invitation and fires $1,200, a small stab meant to fold out nothing hands and price set against exactly these cautious checks. Kachelov calls, signaling he is not afraid of a little heat with top pair. Negreanu overcalls, a cagey line that keeps both ranges uncapped and disguises the true strength of kings by wearing the same hoodie as ace-X.
You too, Daniel?
Yeah.
My God.
You didn't expect 2 calls, right?
No,
Just one.
I was expecting 1 call.
No.
All 3 check the turn after the 8 rolls off. That card changes little. Kachelov sees no need to inflate with his kicker problem. Hellmuth's one-and-done bluff correctly shuts down into 2 sticky ranges, and Negreanu continues the sandbag, preserving the option to spring value or bluff catch on rivered scare cards. The river drops the king of clubs and the trap wakes up. Kachelov leads $4,200, thin value that hopes to get paid by worse aces and denies a free showdown to stubborn pairs. Negreanu answers with a raise to $14,200, selling a story consistent with a slow-played monster or a patient ace that improved, and crucially targeting the very hand Kachelov is value betting.
I think Phil's Hollywooding a bit here since he bet out on the flop.
Hellmuth gets out of the way, his earlier poke having run its course. Faced with a credible, disciplined raise from a player who never overbets his bluffs, Kachelov has to reassess whether ace-9 is really a cash-out hand or a tip jar. What is your read? Are you folding or calling in Kachelov's position? Let me know in the comments.
And Eugene folds.
I had at least that.
The loose cannon is looking down on pocket jacks. He puts in the re-raise to $4,200, and that single decision defines everyone else's incentives. From his seat, he is doing 2 things at once: value targeting the opener with a tight, high card-heavy range, and forcing the field to reveal how speculative they're willing to get at price. And Hashem, with a mid-pair, is taking the classic set mine plus pressure line. The price after a 3-bet is not perfect, but against 3 players the implied odds get juicier, and 7s retain outs against almost anything.
Okay, we all wasted time. We did our little, every one of us, we did the, we know we're calling.
Yeah, whenever you called, everybody knew it was.
We all know we're calling. It's just a little, we're trying to be like Jennifer Tilly there a little bit. Actors.
Oh, yeah.
The loose cannon has just connected in the strongest way possible and chooses stillness over fireworks. He does not need protection on this texture, and in a 4-handed pot, any bet from the pre-flop aggressor looks so credible that it will vacuum the air out of the room. By checking, he invites stories to bloom from worse hands and gives the field a chance to stab into a board they should attack. The turn brings the 4 of hearts, barely nudging ranges, and the checks roll to Hashem. Now he fires 12,000, smart, targeted pressure. He is keying on the universal fear of trips, punishing capped checkbacks, and leveraging position to buy folds from ace-highs and small pairs that hate life facing 2 streets.
That's what you did last time.
When?
12,000.
Last night, Hashem bet 12-5 on the river against the loose cannon. Ken made the call with queens, and Joe showed him 2 pair to take it.
It was 12,500 last time.
Frankowski just calls. Note the elegance. Raising here collapses Hashem's bluffs and isolates only better or folding hands. Calling keeps the net wide, disguises strength, and lets Hashem talk himself into bigger numbers on rivers that do not change much. River is the deuce, another brick, and Hashem does the unthinkable.
I'm all in.
He's all in.
Call. 4 jacks, I guess.
Phil Hellmuth is looking down on 9-7 offsuit. He limps, which caps his range and invites someone to attack the dead money. Minieri obliges with an isolation raise using a suited king, a great candidate because it has blockers, plays well post-flop, and pushes the button on everyone who limped. Locke and Martinez come along, which pulls the SPR up and widens continuing ranges.
I get unstuck. I get off the tilt juice.
Hard to get off that tilt teat.
Hellmuth overcalls rather than 3-betting, a choice that keeps the pot manageable, preserves positional leverage against the razor, and allows weaker holdings to realize without facing a big pre-flop decision. This texture is excellent for the pre-flop aggressor. As the only player who routinely shows up with strong King X after raising, Minieri can c-bet profitably. The small sizing pressures ace high, punishes underpairs, and denies equity to random backdoors while risking little against slow-played traps. Hellmuth check calls instead of raising. That keeps bluffs firing, prevents the pot from ballooning versus the portion of Minieri's range that will not fold, and sets up a decision tree where Hellmuth can choose which turns to accelerate on. Multi-way callers have folded, so we are quickly moving toward a heads-up range battle that favors the in-position player's initiative and the out-of-position player's ability to trap. The second king super polarizes things. From Minieri's seat, this is a green light to barrel because his range contains far more King X than Hellmuth's limp call range. The bet around $5,300 targets exactly the hands that called once and hate life now, medium pairs and stubborn ace high, and it continues to build a pot in case he is ahead. Hellmuth's second check call is strategic. Raising isolates him against very strong holdings and folds out hands that might bluff again. Calling keeps his range wider, invites another polarized river bet, and protects the times he is bluff catching with decent showdown value. From a range math perspective, once the king pairs, the pre-flop raiser's value density increases, which means the out-of-position player should avoid thin raises and lean into induce lines. Nothing material completes, so Minieri retains a nut advantage and chooses a large polar bet of $17,200. That sizing asks a capped range to overdefend, and it puts maximum pressure on one-pair type catchers that arrived here by calling twice.
Oh, man.
Hellmuth's final check call makes sense within that framework. He beats all the natural stabs that gave up drawing equity on the turn.
It's just unreal what happens to me at this place. I mean, I'm just so sick of it, you know? I mean,
I had the best hand on the chart, I had the best hand on the river.
What the is going on in this place? They do me
What the is going on
versus
the river? How
queens,
do you call it?
flop
You always think a
trips.
bluff, I only wait for the nuts.
Negreanu is looking down on ace-jack offsuit. He opens to 400 and Torelli flats with pocket fives, a perfect depth and position call that set mines while keeping Negreanu's weaker aces and broadways in. Pocket fives thrive in exactly this configuration. Stacks are deep enough to realize implied odds, position is secured on the razor, and there are aggressive players behind who may overcall and sweeten the price. Turning fives into a 3-bet would narrow Negreanu to a tough, high-card range and invite a 4-bet that forces the pair into a guessy spot or a fold. The flop comes queen 5-2 with 2 clubs and the initiative shifts. Negreanu has range advantage and fires 1,150, a small c-bet that folds out the air and taxes hands like ace-x without a club while still keeping dominated queens in.
Over half pot into 4 opponents, this bet should come free with a drink at the bar because it is a little nuts.
Torelli springs the value raise to 2,500 with middle set. It builds the pot, protects against club and straight runouts, and forces Negreanu to define his hand. Negreanu's call is the right kind of stubborn. With ace-jack, he has 2 clean overcards. The nut club backdoor via the ace of clubs, and he keeps Torelli's bluffs and thinner value lines alive, rather than turning his hand into a bluff with a 3-bet. The turn is the jack of clubs, and it's a huge texture shift for Negreanu's strategy even though he's still behind. He pairs up, picks up the nut club blocker, and leads 3,100 into a range that just advertised strength on the flop. The donk bet does several jobs at once. It denies a free card to ace-queen and king-queen with a club. It prevents Torelli from setting the price with all of his strong but vulnerable hands. And it tells a story consistent with a flush that arrived and now wants value. Torelli's call keeps the trap set with his set of fives, but notice how the informational asymmetry flips. Negreanu has seized the narrative and gets to choose the river cadence. The river is the ace of diamonds, pairing Negreanu to aces and jacks and leaving the front door clubs unchanged.
And he moves all in. We could be about to lose Daniel Negreanu.
And immediately turns to the weapon that separates him from almost everyone else at the table, live read pressure via table talk. He starts narrating the hand out loud in a way that pins Torelli to a category.
Got ace, queen of hearts or something?
Alternating confidence with doubt so that every nod in Torelli's head feels recognized. He sprinkles in just enough truth to be believable.
It's like I want to fold.
Really?
You have a what?
I want to fold.
You don't have a fold?
No, I want to fold.
Oh,
I wanted to
did you have
fold
ace, queen of hearts? Is that what you have? 'Cause that's kind of what I put you on.
Fold the damn turn.
Ace, queen of hearts might get half. Go for the high, I'll take the low.
Might get half. That's good.
I appreciate you watching this far. If you're enjoying these videos, hit that like button. It really helps me out. Thank you.
You're special, though.
That's what I've been told. He had fives?
Ding.
And he lays it down! He folds the set!
Show like a red 9 and you're my hero.
I'll show you one card. That's good. Let's see.
King of clubs.
Wow. What a card, right?
Jennifer Tilly kicks things off with pocket sixes. This is a decent hand to entertain a small raise with and see if luck is on your side.
Back on Arden. She calls the 3-bet as well, so 3-way to the flop. Oh my word, set over set and Griffin's flop top pair?
This is going to be bad for Griffin, but it's going to be real bad for Arden.
With the board that the flop delivers, everyone has something to bet about. But instead of that, Tilly and Cho decide to check. With that in mind, our weak top pair is trying to take control of the board by shooting a small bet of $2,500. Tilly is loving it because other than a set of kings, nothing else on the board beats her, and she would love to see this pot growing, so naturally she calls. Miss Cho, on the other hand, has a completely different plan. She is not waiting for the pot to grow. She is growing it herself. She does that by firing a $9,400 bet. Now Benger has a choice. Entertain this top pair, or realize the truth and just give up.
Why is he so serious? He's like a goober 99% of the time.
The angry man quickly decides to fold and not pursue the king. On the other hand, Tilly is more than happy to oblige Miss Cho by re-raising to $30,000 with her set of sixes.
Oh boy.
Jen re-raises $30,000.
At this point, Miss Cho should know the deep trouble she finds herself in, but still decides to go ahead and call on her set of fives. The turn delivers the 9 of clubs, a card that is completely irrelevant to both of them. If I was in the position of Tilly, I would be betting pot here. What would you? Let me know in the comments below. I guess Tilly is not so happy about my jamming suggestion, so she decides to check here and wait for something magical on river. Same thing for Miss Cho. In her case, though, that is in her favor.
And Arden spikes a 1-outer. She's got quads. Meanwhile, Jen has rivered a full house.
Buckle up, because this hand just went from pretty sick to absolutely bonkers.
People say patience is a virtue, but in Tilly's case, her patience came to bite her from behind. The river delivers the only card that can save Miss Cho, and that is the 5 of clubs. Now the only question is, will Tilly get baited by her now full house hand? Or will she read her for the quads Miss Cho has? And as we all thought she should do, Miss Cho goes.
There it is.
This is not good.
No, it sure isn't.
If Jen calls, this will be the biggest pot of the game.
Arden, you have quads because I can't beat quads.
Does she know?
I don't think you have kings full. And I don't think you have 9s full. You might have 5s full.
That's a call.
Daniel Negreanu is looking down on 6-5 offsuit. He opens to $3,500. He wants position and initiative against 2 players who defend wide rather than a bloated pre-flop pot. Lock calls with ace-queen, choosing underrep over isolation. A 3-bet would narrow Negreanu and invite a 4-bet, while flatting keeps dominated aces and king-queen in.
Oh, damn. Can't believe you put me in this spot, yo. You put in a bad spot right now, man.
Kind of what I do.
Tony G calls with 8-6 suited because closing the action lets a speculative hand realize cleanly when the pot goes street to street. Lock checks the rainbow flop to hand the mic to the pre-flop raiser, which is exactly what top pair, top kicker wants when it aims to harvest bets. Negreanu bets $6,500, not to scoop immediately, but to declare range, fold out the air, tax king highs and medium pairs, and force the callers to wonder if he truly owns the ace. Lock calls rather than raise because inflating now isolates a narrow, strong continue range. Calling keeps Negreanu's bluffs alive.
No outs. Sounds good.
Tony folds once bet and call collapse his floats and weak pairs, and Lock is suddenly under-repped with the deck on a string. Lock checks the paired ace turn to continue disguising strength and to invite another barrel on a card that supercharges the raiser's story. Negreanu bets $9,000 because if you told the ace on the flop, you must keep telling it here. The second stab squeezes King X and pocket pairs that now fear trips and stays perfectly coherent with an ace X value line. Luck calls again. A disciplined, slow roll of information. Ace-Queen sits far ahead of Negreanu's c-betting region. The texture offers no front door draw to miss, and letting Negreanu keep writing is the highest EV path.
Violent call. Violent. Knock the ace out the park.
Luck checks the river jack for a third time to finalize the inducement and cap his line in Negreanu's eyes. Negreanu fires $28,000, a polarizing closer, trip aces or nothing, and 6-5 is a tidy bluff candidate because it unblocks the folds he wants.
Pre-flop, I was like, does he have 2 kings? But I can't fold, can I? I have too big a hand.
You have the trip aces. Negreanu bets more than half the pot after you checked. What's your move? Do you call his bluff or believe him and fold? And why in one sentence? Best clear answer gets pinned.
I feel like I'm paying you off, but I don't know if I can fold. I don't think I can fold, Daniel. Daniel, son. Me not strong. Me not know how to fold.
There's the call.
Oh, you wanted to fold so bad, too. You got it.
Negreanu is looking down on pocket deuces. Luca opens to 30K with pocket nines, a bread-and-butter early raise that covers a wide band of low and middling boards and pressures the offsuit broadways behind him. The hand wants callers who show up with overcards and then miss. It also doesn't mind playing smaller pots where it can value bet cleanly across safe runouts. Negreanu flat calls with pocket deuces. Small pairs love this configuration. He has position to control price. Stacks are deep enough to realize implied odds, and keeping it single raise preserves all the set and wheel runouts that print against one pair. Turning deuces into a 3-bet would just funnel Luca into strong overpairs and invite a 4-bet. Calling keeps the deck wide and the story flexible. The flop comes low and connected, exactly the texture where the caller can credibly have all the sets and the occasional 4-2 or 6-5. Luca makes the routine range c-bet for 28K. On this board, the small size folds out pure air, taxes random overcards like ace-queen, and keeps worse-made hands honest without bloating the pot or polarizing his range. Negreanu's raised to 95K. From this configuration is perfectly believable. He's repping sets, 2-pair like 6-5 suited, and some straights. With deuces, he isn't spinning it. He holds a live gutter to the wheel plus 2 cleanouts to a set, so he's applying pressure with real equity while seizing the narrative. The sizing forces overpairs and top pairs to define themselves now, rather than getting a cheap turn that could punish them. Luca's call protects his overpairs and some slow plays, but it also hands tempo to Negreanu and nudges Luca toward a bluff-catch posture on a lot of turns. He's inviting Negreanu to keep telling the story and hoping to catch him on a bad card. The turn pairs the 3 and Luca checks. It's a tricky card for both players. It slightly trims the number of set combos. Negreanu repped on the flop, while making overpairs feel a touch safer against bluffs and draws. Negreanu checks back. That's the disciplined pivot. Firing again would polarize on a card that dulls his set story and invites stubborn calls from exactly the hands he wants to move on the river. The river is the 8 of clubs, and Luca checks a third time. After flop pressure and turn control, that third check leaves his range heavy on single pair hands that hate facing a big ask.
Daniel bets ridiculously big, 400K. Wow. And Luca folds.
Nozaki takes the most profitable path out of position, a squeeze to 56K. The size is on point, big enough to deny set mine pricing, small enough to keep worse pairs and broadways attached. Garcia's call continues a wide UTG range that wants to realize position. Drining comes along because he's deep, in position, and one 5-to-1 set rolls off often enough to justify the peel.
Well, there's a 9 and a 4 set over set sickness.
On the flop, range meets board in a dangerous way. Nozaki has the top of everything. Top set and c-bets just 63K. That sizing is perfect here. It prices out the pure air, charges the spade draws and gutters, and crucially leaves room for worse to continue or bluff raise. Garcia picks up an inside straight draw plus backdoor diamonds, calling pressures. Nozaki's ace highs without overcommitting. Drinan, with bottom set, chooses the flat rather than the raise. Multi-way, raising folds the bluffs and isolates him against overpairs with a spade or the 2 higher sets that beats him. Calling keeps Nozaki firing and lets Garcia continue with dominated draws. The turn is a total brick. Nozaki checks. A trap that leverages his stack to pot, 255K behind, sets up a clean check jam over any stab. Garcia obliges for 157K, representing big spades, overpairs, and the occasional slow-played set while using his equity to pressure-capped one pair. Drinan's call with a set is the KG pot control line in position. It keeps Garcia's bluffs in and invites Nozaki to make a mistake. Instead, Nozaki springs the trap.
I'm ordering.
The pricing is brutal. Garcia needs 98k more into a mountain and can't release a straight draw. Drinan is never folding a set for that price. Both call, and Nozaki has them drawing thin to redraws and counterfeit outs. The front door spade misses and the board pairs again. With Nozaki all in and the side pot being non-existent, Garcia and Drinan check it down, not willing to risk any more on this already insane hand.
The two pair.
Yeah, lucky day.
At least he gets that this is not common.
Nick Airball finds ace-king suited in late position and turns the pre-flop spot into a squeeze. His 3-bet to 10k is perfect at these depths. It punishes flats, leverages 2 premium blockers, and sets up a post-flop range edge against the blinds. Ryan defends the big blind with pocket queens, a disciplined cold call that keeps worse in and avoids getting 4-bet into a nightmare. Calling also disguises his hand. If the board doesn't spike an ace or king, he'll realize well from out of position. The flop is range heaven for the 3-better and exactly the sort of board where Nick's holding sits on top. He goes tiny for 4k. On high card, Rainbow textures the small stab is doing 2 jobs at once. It taxes stubborn middling pairs and extracts from dominated top pairs without polarizing his range. Ryan's call is perfect. Raising turns his hand face up and risks folding out all the second best value that will keep betting for him. Calling keeps Nick's range uncapped and preserves the trap. The turn is a brick that mostly freezes ranges. Nick continues for 16k. That second small barrel keeps pressure on exactly Ryan's hand class. Strong but not invincible, and prevents the pot from getting checked through to a river that could counterfeit value. Ryan calls again, which effectively caps him under ace-king and kings, while keeping worse ace-x and the occasional floated queen in. The river pairs with the king of clubs and the board flips hard toward Nick. Ryan checks for the 3rd time, and Nick unloads 85k.
I don't think I'm folding, but that was like the stupidest river.
Wow, and Ryan seems to have a pretty good read on what's going on here.
It's a great value sizing on paired top card rivers. The big bet forces queens, king-queen, and even some ace-queen to make a miserable decision. Ryan can't find the fold and gets shown the bad news.
Nice slow roll.
Nick Airball opens the cutoff to 2k and several players peel, Ryan among them from the big blind with king 10 suited. Multi-way changes everything. Opening ranges widen, top pair shrinks in relative value, and the pre-flop raiser's c-bet frequency plummets unless he can bet small and target a lot of second-best hands. The flop is a complete collision for the two we're tracking. Ryan flops trips. Nick already holds 7s full of kings. Into a field, this bet is powerful because it looks like automatic c-bet, while actually extracting from every king and diamond draw without scaring them off. Raising from Ryan would polarize him into exactly boats or bluffs and punt value against the rest of the table, so he just calls and keeps worse kings and bluffs in front of him. The turn brings the queen of hearts. Ryan checks again, and Nick follows with another small value bet, 5k. That sizing continues the same story. It prices in dominated kings and sticky pocket pairs, while keeping the pot multi-way friendly. If Nick goes big here, he folds out too much of the range he's targeting and isolates himself versus better kings. The river is the 10 of hearts, and the script flips. After 2 streets of check call, he now leads for 20k. That river donk is smart for 2 reasons. First, the board texture can slow Nick's betting cadence and risk a check back. Second, compared with the first hand, where Ryan faced a big river blast, leading lets him set the price and guarantee value from worse boats and stubborn kings that hate folding.
I have a bad feeling about this one. I have a full house.
Me too.
Ryan leads. Nick just calls, and Ryan wins a pot of $66,000.
Jennifer Tilley is looking down on 8-6 suited. Negreanu opens with ace-2 offsuit. That is a light but purposeful steal, using the ace as a blocker to reduce the chance he runs into a premium and leaning on position to realize whatever equity shows up later. Tilley answers with a re-raise. That choice is great against a suspected wide open because suited connectors play cleanly post-flop, deny cheap realization to the opener, and set her up to attack a player who loves to take flops.
It's a little too small, Jen. Phil Locke is going to be upset with you after that raise size because it's too small.
Last time I took advice from you, I lost the tournament.
Sorry.
Negreanu calls rather than 4-betting. He keeps her range wide, carries the positional advantage into a pot that is not yet bloated, and quietly pockets the option to turn later cards into leverage, even when he misses.
Okay, now I'm going to do the dunk bet.
It's not a donk bet because you were the pre-flop raiser.
Oh, okay, it's not a dunk bet.
It's a continuation bet.
A continuation bet.
Tilley follows through for a small c-bet. The sizing stresses floats and gut shots and keeps her range comfortably uncapped.
A lot of bad cards come off, then I can just bluff raise the turn or something stupid like that.
You could.
Turn a pair into a bluff. I'm really good at that. It's one of my big things Bill Reynolds taught me.
Negreanu does not have value, but he does have a plan. He calls to float, buying one more card and preserving the initiative advantage that comes from acting last. If she slows on the turn, he gets to tell the next chapter. If she barrels big, he can release cheaply and move on. The texture inches toward the middling wheelish territory that favors the caller. Tilly checks. That single check compresses her range away from very strong overpairs and toward one-pair hands and draws that prefer pot control. Negreanu seizes the mic with a bet. The number is not huge, but the message is loud. He denies a free card to overcards, pressures hands like ace-queen and king-jack that c-bet once, and begins building a story that can arrive at straights and two-pair by the river. His literal hand did not improve, however his distribution did, because the cards he credibly represent improved. Calling the flop to take it away on the turn is classic small ball pressure, and he executes it cleanly. This is the card that ties the room together, and the run-out connects squarely with the very suited connectors that defend 3-bet pots from the blinds. Tilly leads small. That type of sizing often functions as a blocker, a way to name a price with a hand that does not want to face a pot-sized bomb. To Negreanu, that looks like a door left slightly open. He chooses to kick it in and chips. The shove polarizes him to the straights and strong two-pair he has been representing since the turn.
We probably have the same hand. Oh, so sick. You have 9-jack, right?
Would that be the same hand as you have? Because if you did have that and you didn't call by now, it would be a little bizarre.
You're in Jennifer Tilly's seat. You have the straight. Negreanu shoves over your small lead. What's your move, snap call, or an impossible fold? And why in one sentence? Best clear answer gets pinned.
Oh, God.
Oh, you have a 6? Have you raised me with a 6 out of position?
No.
That's crazy talk.
Tilly folds.